Life is too short for long-term grudges. Patience is a virtue, and I'm learning patience. It's a tough lesson. I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is disaster. If you're trying to create a company, it's like baking a cake. You have to have all the ingredients in the right proportion. I think there should be regulations on social media to the degree that it negatively affects the public good. If something's important enough, you should try, even if the probable outcome is failure. I would like to die on Mars. Just not on impact. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. I think it matters whether someone has a good heart. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. When I was in college, I wanted to be involved in things that would change the world. We're running the most dangerous experiment in history right now, which is to see how much carbon dioxide the atmosphere can handle before there is an environmental catastrophe. People should pursue what they're passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket, as long as you control what happens to that basket. To make an embarrassing admission, I like video games. That's what got me into software engineering when I was a kid. I wanted to make money so I could buy a better computer to play better video game. Nothing like saving the world. Great companies are built on great products. If we drive down the cost of transportation in space, we can do great things. I think we have a duty to maintain the light of consciousness to make sure it continues into the future. Brand is just a perception, and perception will match reality over time. Sometimes it will be ahead, other times it will be behind. But brand is simply a collective impression some have about a product. I always invest my own money in the companies that I create. I don't believe in the whole thing of just using other people's money. I don't think that's right. I'm not going to ask other people to invest in something if I'm not prepared to do so myself. Self-driving cars are the natural extension of active safety and obviously something we should do. Starting a business is not for everyone. Starting a business, I'd say, number one is have a high pain threshold. It's very important to like the people you work with. Otherwise, your job is going to be quite miserable. I think you should always bear in mind that entropy is not on your side. We can't have, like, willy-nilly proliferation of fake news. That's crazy. You can't have more types of fake news than real news. That's allowing public deception to go unchecked. That's crazy. Really, the only thing that makes sense is to strive for greater collective enlightenment. There have to be reasons that you get up in the morning and you want to live. Why do you want to live? What's the point? What inspires you? What do you love about the future? If the future does not include being out there among the stars and being a multi-planet species, I find that incredibly depressing. Any product that needs a manual to work is broken. A company is a group organized to create a product or service, and it is only as good as its people and how excited they are about creating. I do want to recognize a ton of super talented people. I just happen to be the face of the companies. I will never be happy without having someone. Going to sleep alone kills me. We're already cyborgs. Your phone and your computer are extensions of you, but the interface is through finger movements or speech, which are very slow. I usually describe myself as an engineer. That's basically what I've been doing since I was a kid. In order to have your voice be heard in Washington, you have to make some little contribution. The problem is that at a lot of big companies, process becomes a substitute for thinking. You're encouraged to behave like a little gear in a complex machine. Frankly, it allows you to keep people who aren't that smart, who aren't that creative. I think we are at the dawn of a new era in commercial space exploration. The factory is the machine that builds the machine. The key to making things affordable is design and technology improvements, as well as scale. Land on Mars, a round-trip ticket, $500,000. It can be done. If you go back a few hundred years, what we take for granted today would seem like magic, being able to talk to people over long distances, to transmit images, flying, accessing vast amounts of data like an oracle. These are all things that would have been considered magic a few hundred years ago. I think life on Earth must be about more than just solving problems. It's got to be something inspiring, even if it is vicarious. I say something, and then it usually happens. Maybe not on schedule, but it usually happens. The value of beauty and inspiration is very much underrated, no question. But I want to be clear, I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. Mars is the only place in the solar system where it's possible for life to become multiplanetarian. Rockets are cool. There's no getting around that. I'm interested in things that change the world or that affect the future, and wondrous, new technology where you see it, and you're like, wow, how did that even happen? How is that possible? We are the first species capable of self-annihilation. If humanity doesn't land on Mars in my lifetime, I would be very disappointed. The future of humanity is going to bifurcate in two directions. Either it's going to become multiplanetary, or it's going to remain confined to one planet, and eventually there's going to be an extinction event. I've actually not read any books on time management. There's a silly notion that failure's not an option at NASA. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. When I was a child, there's one thing I said: I never want to be alone. That's what I would say. I don't want to be alone. I wouldn't say I have a lack of fear. In fact, I'd like my fear emotion to be less because it's very distracting and fries my nervous system. I don't spend my time pontificating about high-concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. When Henry Ford made cheap, reliable cars, people said, "Nah, what's wrong with a horse?" That was a huge bet he made, and it worked. Man has the power to act as his own destroyer, and that is the way he has acted through most of his history. Trying to read our DNA is like trying to understand software code, with only 90% of the code riddled with errors. It's very difficult in that case to understand and predict what that software code is going to do. I don't create companies for the sake of creating companies, but to get things done.